All right, where no one has gone before. Now, this is the most egregious Wesley Crusher is special episode ever. There are several others that are close, but this is the worst one, and it's one of the first. And really, really set the tone for the character for all of Star Trek to come. Kind of a disappointment when you look at it from the back view. And for this one, I've decided to do something a little special. How to avoid having your players hate an NPC the way viewers of Star Trek The Next Generation often hate Wesley Crusher. Because the Wesley is special plot element is such an ingrained part of this episode that I have to talk about it in the context of running a TTRPG campaign. So let's move on. Obviously, where no one has gone before refers to this dream dimension that the traveler takes the Enterprise to, because why not? If you're going to go full weird alien, go full weird alien. Now, that don't get established in the episode, but you, as a person running a TTRPG, might feel the need to examine. One, what is the traveler? No, seriously. That is actually a big deal in the episode, is because this guy here has been duped by the traveler into thinking that he has developed a new form of warp travel that is substantially better than what the Federation has been using al- at present. And on this ship, while they're doing their testing, he decides to do a demonstration. Well, the traveler gets seen making the test work by Wesley, and well, it results in the one, and to my understanding, only time we see the galaxy M33 in Star Trek: The Next Generation. At least, as the setting of the episode. Now, you doing this as a TTRPG, having the traveler doing that sort of stuff, that's gets a bit interesting because, like, as you note here, the traveler is a recurring NPC. He is someone who will show up again later, is part of the Wesley is special story arc, because Wesley is apparently going to become a godlike traveler being, and there's nothing Picard can do about it. Okay, then. Yeah. What are travelers? No one knows. No, seriously, no one knows. He mentioned something in this one weird comment about experiencing your reality, which suggests that he's some sort of extraplanar being, like eldritch creature from another dimension, which actually makes sense when you consider the whole dream realm nonsense, because this is not three-dimensional space as the Federation knows it, and they do not have any idea how to get from here back to the Federation. And being here, because it's a dream dimension that has the ability to make your thoughts into reality, is potentially deadly. And but this begs the question, what is here. And it's possible that the reality is that this is where the traveler came from. See, we don't know what these glowing orbs are. We don't know anything about this realm other than the fact that it's a dream dimension where your thoughts can become reality. That's literally the only thing we know about it. The traveler used his abilities to shift the Enterprise to here. However, he did not explain this process. He did not explain where this is relative to normal space. So, completely different parallel dimension? Maybe. Something less easy to comprehend? Also, maybe. See, one thing that's noteworthy is that TNG does on multiple occasions play with the idea that three-dimensional space is really just a slice of reality, and that there are other slices of reality that one could look at or venture into if you had the right skills and tools. Well, a classic example of this was the episode with the night demon aliens who abducted Riker, cut off his arm, surgically reattached it just because they were curious about how humanoids worked or something. These aliens were left unnamed in the episode, and the sheer level of terror their presence uh, elicited was impressive, simply due to the fact that no one had any idea who they were or how they were getting onto the ship because they existed on a different level of reality, a level that normally cannot be seen from three-dimensional space that humans live in. However, due to some experimental changes to the Enterprise suddenly became visible and touchable by these aliens. So they did, because they were curious. Anyway, though, non-canon sources sometimes call them the Solanae, but that's not really their name. They're also referred to as Solanogen aliens because of the fact that being made of Solanogen is one of the things that makes them different from humans. Because the Solanogen aliens cannot live in three-dimensional space as we know it. They literally fall apart if they try, which is strange to say the least. But that's because of the fact that they're not made out of the same materials that humanoids are made out of. Again, why they're called Solanogen aliens, because that's actually a major part of their biochemistry. Why? It's sci fi. Anyway, though, moving on to this. Unlike the Solanogen aliens, this kind it doesn't feel like a hell dimension. This feels more like a heaven dimension. But is either um, concept a good analogy? Probably not. Still, though, this is a place that doesn't actually try to kill you, although it might give you the opportunity to kill yourself. Now, noteworthy, Kaczynski here actually shows up in more than one episode too. Um, Kaczynski and actually doesn't really do much of anything in later episodes. It's more that he gets talked about later on because Kaczynski got discredited as a fraud, although he kind of got set up to be discredited as a fraud by the Traveler. And in the original script idea here, which again, because of the fact that you as a GM are doing what you want to do and have no reason to copy this directly can use either the original script idea or the filmed version, whichever one you want. And eh. Also, this rank insignia he was wearing, I'm going to uh, postulate that this is a reflection of the fact that he is a specialist and has commi- a position in Starfleet that isn't a rank and file officer. Because again, he does research into experimental physics as his job in Starfleet. He's not a science officer on board a starship. He does other more interesting things. Anyway, though, that's something that you could actually have fun with in a TTRPG, though. Is, trying to explain who Kaczynski is and why exactly do people actually believe Kaczynski? Because in the original, as aired episode, what made Kaczynski's stuff work was the Traveler physically forcing it to work by breaking the laws of reality in ways that Kaczynski didn't understand. Kaczynski, as I mentioned, had been duped into believing that these ideas of his were actually real. The Traveler duped him into believing that this was real because the Traveler had an ulterior motive. He was looking for someone to travel with, someone like Wesley. He was doing a flim flam routine so that he could look for someone who was able to see the truth. And that was the aspect of this episode that got really, really screwballing off the deep end. And quite frankly, is the sort of thing that I would probably shy away from because of the fact that in this episode, Wesley doesn't really feel like a player character. The rest of the crew feel like player characters. But Wesley feels like that super critical quest NPC who you have to talk into doing the right thing or talk into, you know, not doing something that would be catastrophically bad. That sort of thing. You talk to Kaczynski to find out what you need to tell the other guy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And dialogue puzzle in TTRPG form. Now, writing that for a TTRPG is something that you don't necessarily um, need to spend a lot of time thinking out because of the fact that ultimately the exact specifics of the dialogue puzzle are something that you can make up on the fly. You have a few bare bones aspects of it, and then just like ad lib the meat and potatoes of it. Obviously, though, this would indicate that as the bare bones, you would need to know why the um, strange changes to intermix ratios actually have an effect, which in this case, Kaczynski, um, yeah, the whole thing is a scam, but people around Kaczynski actually they know that his ideas do something. They don't understand why. So it makes people doubt whether or not these ideas that are seemingly nonsensical might actually have some merit that's not understood by the public as a whole. And that was what made Kaczynski an interesting character, because of the fact that people believed that about him. He originally came across as someone who was this mad genius. Now, as we already mentioned, instead of being a genius, he was a pawn. And it's actually one of those things about the traveler that makes the traveler come across as a very, very ethically questionable being. I'm not even sure it's an individual. Really not. But the traveler duped Kaczynski into being part of his scheme, ruined Kaczynski's career in the process, and hard to say what Kaczynski actually did after this because of just how horribly messed up Kaczynski's career ended up as a result of this. As for the Traveler, the Travelers have been known to take on multiple forms, and that's something that's interesting because of the fact that this isn't what he really looks like, and neither is this. What is? And that's another thing that's interesting is because the fact that we never see, this is what is assumed to be the default appearance, but it's no more his real appearance than this is. And it's questionable whether or not the Traveler is even a humanoid because of the fact that the Traveler seemingly doesn't come from three-dimensional space as we know it. Yeah, also, whether they're actually oh, that's another thing, is that being being native to Tau Alpha C isn't necessarily true. Now, uh, anyways, uh, you could play it as if this was actually true, or maybe not. Also, the fact that they have weird numbers of fingers is also an interesting uh, trait because of the fact that it makes them obviously different. However, as noted earlier, they have the ability to take on other forms if they want to. So, also, something that's strange here is the fact that the travelers chose this time period to interact with the Federation and pull off that hoax to trick Kaczynski into helping them find someone. Why exactly is that? Also, what do they have to do with Gary Seven? Seriously, I'm just, I this is another thing that you as a game master could do your own thing with because linking them to Gary Seven is certainly a thing you could do, but doesn't seem to necessarily be how you would need to play it if you wanted to. Anyways, though, Tau Alpha C, you could, use it, not use it, whatever. To be quite honest, I would actually be very hesitant to use travelers as NPCs that players interact with because of the fact that we just they're god aliens that aren't, fully god aliens. And like I mentioned before about Kevin Uxbridge, is that They're god aliens with inscrutable motives and goals that have done things that show you that they do have noteworthy limitations. And those limitations would be more fun to explore than the massive extents of their powers, because, quite frankly, being able to warp people to wherever they want to in the universe because reasons is okay. Is it boring? No. It is definitely not boring. However, from a gameplay narrative perspective, being able to just go wherever you want to, whenever you want to, makes for a bit of a bad story, I guess is one way to put it. Ah, well. At any rate, that is quite a lot about this one. The actual story that they did here with the people trying to avoid accidentally breaking reality. I mean, like, you have Picard talking to what he imagines his mother to look like and stuff like that, where people are just, this is what I feel like doing today, and so on and so forth. Also, one of the things that I mentioned earlier about the travelers definitely not being all powerful is that the traveler's ability to relocate beings through space and time isn't unlimited. And, the traveler nearly dies uh, in the process of bringing the Enterprise back. Now, that is something worth noting and paying attention to if you were to use them. And I think that's about as far as I need to go on this one. It's a lot of stuff that needs to be used very, very carefully. And I would go very, uh, I would be very methodical about how I choose what to use and how to use it, because you don't want to just do random crazy, because you end up with random crazy in the middle of a battle between aliens you don't understand. And oh yeah, the traveler just fainted from the exertion of dumping you in the middle of an active firefight. Have fun with that. That's one option with random crazy, anyways. Is it a good option? I would say no, but hey, that's me. And with that thought, I'm going to call it here. See you guys next.